Trump administration is standing by its policy of separating family members who illegally enter the U.S.
The move is fueling noticeable opposition across the country. KCAL 9 political reporter Bryan shows us what key members of the administration are saying tonight. Dave?
And the key members of the administration are really digging in their heels so far, but this issue now seems to be taking on a life of its own. The storm was building throughout the weekend, and on Monday it was a full-blown political hurricane. A new CBS poll just released shows that Americans of all parties believe separating children from their parents at the border is unacceptable. And tonight, the sights and sounds of this exploding crisis were taking place from El Cajon to Brownsville, Texas, to the White House and New Orleans. In New Orleans, angry protesters clashed with police outside an auditorium where Attorney General Jeff Sessions was justifying the administration's zero-tolerance policy.
Our goal is to make the nation safer and to make sure that people who violate our laws are punished. We can't have a society in which people commit crimes all over the place.
With thousands of children now believed being held in detention facilities like this, caged in behind wire fencing with no contact with their parents, an investigative reporter with the website ProPublica says a whistleblower recorded this audio tape of weeping children begging to be allowed to contact their relatives so they could go home. In San Diego County, Southern California Congress members inspected several immigration detention centers for children and lashed out at the president.
The president is saying it's not my fault, I didn't do it. No, you did do it. You did it to the dreamers, and now you're doing it to the children.
And at the White House, a briefing that was delayed for 4 hours as the Secretary of Homeland Security blamed Congress for not changing the law.
It's a law passed by the United States Congress. Rather than fixing the law, Congress is asking those of us who enforce the law to turn our backs on the law and not enforce the law.
The sights and sounds of a chaotic day of tears, anger, finger-pointing, and debate. A national uproar over the separation of children from their parents who were arrested when crossing the border into the U.S. illegally. And sharp words over who or what are to blame, like these exchanges at the White House briefing.
How could this not be child abuse for the people who were taken from their parents?
Unfortunately, I'm not in any position to deal with, hearsay stories.
Are the children being used as pawns against a four-wall? Yes or no? Can you say yes or no to that?
The children are not being used as a pawn. We are trying to protect the children, which is why I'm asking Congress to act.
Are you intending for parents to be separated from their children? Are you intending to send a message?
I find that offensive. No, because why would I ever create a policy that purposely does that?
The fact is, the family separations are the result of the Trump administration's interpretation of federal immigration law, an interpretation that no previous administration dared adopt. California Senator Kamala Harris is now calling for the Homeland Security Secretary to resign, as she told CNN Monday evening.
She is leading an agency and a policy that is separating children from their parents. Children as young as 1 year old, 4 years old, and for no reason. And it's got to stop. And clearly she does not see the need for it to stop, so she should go.
The administration has been prosecuting anyone illegally entering America since they implemented the zero-tolerance policy in April.
The United States will not be a migrant camp, and it will not be a refugee holding facility.
Today at the White House, the president said his administration is being scapegoated for enforcing existing immigration laws. Former First Lady Laura Bush condemned the practice in a scathing op-ed. She compared the detention centers housing children to Japanese internment camps. Former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton also spoke out today.
Separating families is not mandated by law at all. That is an outright lie.
Even Louisiana Republican Senator John Kennedy called the situation a hot mess.
I don't have any problem whatsoever allowing children of those who are coming in illegally to stay with their parents.
But Pasadena Congresswoman Judy Chu accused President Trump of throwing children in cages to pressure Congress to approve billions of dollars to build his border wall.
He should not be using these children as a bargaining chip for what he wants in an immigration bill, a big border wall. He should not be using the lives of these young, vulnerable children for this.
Finally, a new CBS poll released Monday shows that 2/3 of Americans believe separating children from their parents at the border is unacceptable. Democrats and independents are overwhelmingly against it, but even Republicans say it's unacceptable by a small margin. Now, tomorrow, President Trump is scheduled to meet with Republicans to discuss how they can get an immigration bill through Congress and onto his desk. President Trump is demanding that the bill must contain billions of dollars for building the border wall. At least one of the immigration bills circulating in the House would allocate $25 billion for the wall. But if that doesn't happen, President Trump is now threatening to shut down the government in September. Juan, Lena, back to you.